Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, a loss in the third preseason game, but three key players continue to shine on a night-in, night-out basis. We'll talk about all three next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we're back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Brendon Kleen. Thanks for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on this Saturday, a bonus episode. Don't forget, Locked On Suns is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button to do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked onto the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode, guys, brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. Start the season with a big return at FanDuel by placing your first $5 bet to get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Let's dive right in. The final score, of course, a loss. 109-91, the Detroit Pistons come into Phoenix and win in preseason game number 3. Devin Booker, a late scratch with right ankle soreness. Yusuf Nurkic and Grayson Allen remain out. Nurkic with that finger. Allen with not only the personal, which we're assuming is a family addition, but also apparently some Achilles soreness and just some different things as he works himself back into game shape. But let's start with our moment of the game, as we often do. Midway through the fourth quarter, Josh Okogie is in the game. He, late in the third quarter, let's say, comes up after what Mike Budenholzer later told us was a hamstring pull. And I'm watching Mike Budenholzer. Well, I'm watching Okogie because he's grimacing and grabbing it, and they go play an offensive possession, and he can't really move, and then he flags himself when there's a stoppage and kind of checks himself out of the game because of the pain and goes beelines it straight to the locker room. So I'm watching. I'm like, oh, that doesn't look good, but obviously he's walking. He's fine. Going straight to the locker room is not a great sign, but nothing to see here for the most part. But what then I notice is that Mike Budenholzer is shrugging whatever. He points to Ryan Dunn because I think he kind of was surprised, and I thought maybe he would just go straight to Jalen Bridges at that point, and just sort of empty that end of the bench group right away. But instead he goes back to Dunn, who had played fewer minutes than the other starters, filling in for Booker tonight, but obviously was kind of out of the normal rotation. He had just checked out of the game a moment before. Dunn hops up, no problem. Bud asks Dunn, as he's going back to the scorer's table to check into the game, are you good? Like, can you basically come in again, or you need a minute? And Dunn didn't even hear him. He was so purposeful, giddying up right over to that scorer's table and checking back into the game. The next possession, he gets, I want to make sure I'm getting this right here. Let me tell you when 3:41 he checks in. Next possession, 7 seconds later after that stoppage, the Suns get the ball back. He gets a corner three off of a Royce O'Neal assist. Then on the other end, he plays some solid defense back on that Cade Cunningham assignment that he handled most of the night. And then he gets another open three the next possession, and he does miss it. But just to basically, since that moment, Okogie's suddenly out, ignore the coach's concerns, get right back into the game, make a three, play good D, and then get another open three and take it without hesitation. To me, that just speaks to the entire Ryan Dunn experience so far this preseason. That has been, yes, you can talk about, right, we are looking at now 3 games. He had another highlight block on a dunk attempt in this game. He had numerous chasing through screens. I don't know if it was a block or just a great contest on a Cade Cunningham jumper that came up short around the free throw line as he kind of recovered after getting caught up on a screen. Those defensive highlights are clearly there. He is now 7 of 21 from 3, let's say. 7 of 21 from 3, 33%. All of that is great. He's walking the ball up the court at times. He's been a willing and I think high IQ passer. He has been every bit the ready-made product, I think, during preseason that you would hope to see him be. Capped off, not capped off, there's 2 more preseason games, but punctuated, let's say, by getting this nod to start this game in place of Book. That could have gone to Royce O'Neal. That could have gone to, Grayson was sitting. That's the most logical. Damian Lee, just get him some minutes. Okogie's been playing during the preseason. No, they went with Dunn, which was a testament to all of the things that I just complimented him on. And then in that moment, late third quarter, it just felt like that mentality and that, honestly, I don't want to call it leadership, but just being a good teammate, even as a rookie, having that confidence and having that want to, right? To embrace it and not be one I need a break. I have to come back in, stomping around or making a scene out of it, but also to come make an impact and embrace it. I don't know. It just felt like a great encapsulation of what has made Dunn such a plug-and-play guy for this team. Next, we're solo today, guys. We're back to what it was 2 months ago, but Ben will be back shortly. You'll get a little bit of solo Ben. We'll have a show we pre-recorded coming your way next week, but we got 2 more segments to bang out. I want to tell you my big takeaway of the game, and it relates to Kevin Durant and something that I feel like the Suns got too far away from last year that is such a sweet relief to see once again. First, today's show is brought to you by the Gametime app. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier, whether that is sports, music, theater, or comedy. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Whether you know what event you want to see and you just want to get the best deals, or you just want to find what you are going to do this weekend, or during the holiday season. Find super deals with Gametime through those Gametime Picks. They put them all at the very top, whether it is by event or by city or by type. The best ones go to the top in those Gametime Picks to cut down the time spent searching and give you that complete confidence that you're getting a great deal. Seat views, all-in pricing, all the best stuff that you know Gametime for, plus those Gametime Picks. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime by downloading the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. Keeping the show rolling. Let's go here. All right, so big takeaway from this one. This is another game in which Kevin Durant was oh so efficient. No pun intended. We'll talk about Oso in the next segment. 18 points on 7 of 12 shooting. And again, no Booker in this one. Beal got it going. Shot a little touch under 50%, but still had 17 of his own in a confident scoring night, I think, for Beal too, as we continue to see how they're going to deploy him. But on the Durant side, it was not only another efficient, productive game, but it was another game where he got his points and his scoring in a way that just feels and looks so much more comfortable than we came to expect last year. Here's what I mean by that, right? We've talked about pace and a point guard and the arrivals of Tyus Jones and Monte Morris in the capacity of obviously, spreading the wealth. A point guard's job is to make their teammates better, get a feel for their teammates' kind of vibe and energy on the court. Oh, he hasn't had a shot in a while. Here's where he likes to catch a pass. Here's the type of sets he likes, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the things that I feel like we haven't necessarily focused on, and a lot of that did come down to Durant, right? Like last year it was like, oh, he's just stuck in the corner and all that stuff, and the point guard was supposed to help that. But we haven't focused on the fact that I think Durant, in almost every way that he likes to attack, is more comfortable doing it early in the clock with a rhythm. You know, the Thunder were the exact opposite of that. And of course, he still won an MVP because he was even more athletic all those years ago, and, you know, probably even more of a mismatch on a night-to-night basis given the types of players that were rolling around the NBA in those days. So that's an example of how not to do it. Then he gets to Golden State, and they're not the fastest team in the world, but obviously those tsunamis that they could unleash on you all of a sudden, especially in those third quarters that they became known for, it was fast break, transition, hit-aheads, rhythm, jump shots, breakaway baskets, and all that sort of stuff. Then you get to Brooklyn, where he probably had the most control over the style of play, given that, you know, he was kind of the belle of the ball with that franchise and seemingly had a little bit of say in the coaching decisions and the personnel, and obviously bringing Kyrie along, who thrives in that kind of environment too, as we saw with Dallas last year. All that stuff stacks up, and KD has some of the better seasons of his career, despite MVPs in Oklahoma City and finals MVPs and all sorts of record-breaking numbers in Golden State. He gets to Brooklyn, and what do? It is fairly reduced, simplistic offense. You know, a pick and roll here, a dribble handoff there, a pin down over here. But all early clock and all playing off of the individual creation ability and brilliance and IQ of himself, Kyrie, and Harden. You go back and look at some of those highlights, and it's like, you know, Kyrie brings the ball up, KD comes off of a pin down, catches the ball, one dribble, pull-up jumper. But the defense isn't settled. He might have a mismatch. His man doesn't exactly know how to predict where he's going. There's no help defense because the floor is spaced, and again, it's early clock, so there's no set defense that you're going against. And KD was just able to go to work. The way that I kind of think of this is, and actually, before I get there, the other point to make here, last year, yes, I would agree. The offense was stagnant. It never got into a rhythm. They finished so many possessions late in the clock. But even the year before that, right? Chris Paul got open shots for Kevin Durant, of course. Durant had some big nights in the postseason, especially in 2023, especially getting to the free throw line and three-point shooting and rebounding, but they didn't have time to really, really integrate him. So it was kind of flying by the seat of his pants. But again, a very half-court heavy type of thing. I think he will benefit maybe more than anybody else from them playing with this up-tempo style. I made the point consistently, the end of the first season he was here, all of last season, of like, guys, we have to sort of temper our expectations as far as what Durant is going to be able to do driving to the basket. When he does have to kind of play in a crowd, the numbers say he's not getting to the basket as often as he used to. You know, his accuracy when he's up against that kind of defense, his turnovers, some of that stuff has just gotten a little bit worse, but still elite, just not maybe what he was at his absolute apex as he's aged and dealt with injuries and different things like that. But a lot of that goes away and proves me incredibly wrong if you turn around and look at the fact that he's now doing it without an extra set of help in the way between him and the basket. And again, maybe being able to attack more mismatches and having, at the very least, kind of his own chess moves planned out in a way that the defense is not able to predict. I think that all of that is going to be just eating. KD is going to be eating this year. And this preseason is any indication of that, it's already pretty obvious. Again, 7 of 12 from the field, 18 points on a night where, frankly, the Suns didn't even look like they necessarily wanted to be there. I don't know if it was just Book suddenly being out and they're still down Grayson and Nurk, and it's just like, why, oh, why? Come on, please let this end. I don't know. But he is now 18 of 34 from the field in the preseason, which, for everybody counting at home, is a crisp 53% from the field. And that is 6 of 14 from 3, like 45%. Comfortable. Simple. To me, I just don't think we've given enough praise to the fact that it's not only a way to get KD back into his comfort zone, but also a way to ensure that he's still maximum effective even as his game evolves due to the natural aging in his mid-30s. Early returns are awesome. Expect potentially an even more efficient KD season than last year. Next up, the closeout. Oso Ighodaro breakout watch. Let's go. First, today's show is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook, America's number one sportsbook. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel. So when you get that hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. All at FanDuel.com. Let's see here. Sunday, the New York Liberty are 7.5-point favorites at home in Game 2 of the WNBA Finals. Game 1 was close. I'm not saying I think the Lynx will win both on the road or anything like that. You would have to expect a bounce back by the Liberty. That is why they are favored minus 325 on the money line. But a close game feels more likely than a blowout. So that 7.5 feels a little interesting. Either way, you're getting those $200 in bonus bets. So put those 5 wherever you want them and have a little fun. All at FanDuel.com. Closing out the show, one last segment of Solo Brendon before you are given over to Ben for the week. You'll get one more little dose of me as we give you our board bet reveal later. So hit follow or subscribe, get all those shows as we get you one last week closer to the regular season when I will, of course, be right back here with Ben hosting every day. Clippers, Suns, right off the bat, Lakers, Mavs. It's going to be a blast. The closeout, Oso Ighodaro breakout watch. A couple things. So we first heard that the Suns were going to be making a lineup change, and Dwayne Rankin of the Arizona Republic was like, after Bud said that in the pregame media availability, said, oh, is Oso starting? Which was kind of like a, good thing you didn't ask that question to Mason Plumlee, I guess is how I'll put it. But Oso was not, in fact, that surprise starter. Of course, it was Dunn in place of Book, who we did not know was going to be out, but that made a whole lot more sense once it all played out. Oso did still get 23 minutes as he continues to factor heavily into this team's plans this preseason with Nurkic out and them wanting to get these rookies some run. Not Oso's best offensive game, not at least from the standpoint of scoring the ball. He continues to turn it over regularly, but 3 assists, had an offensive rebound, and really it was 0 of 2. One of his shots, the three-pointer attempted, was a heave, doesn't really count. So I would say more just a less aggressive offensive game, and maybe the offense not working quite as crisply just because of the lack of effort and intensity the Suns kind of came out with tonight. Probably not going to be a situation where Oso gets a ton of shot attempts if other guys aren't breaking down the defense for him, if that makes sense. So I'm not worried there. Where I want to look is the defensive end of the court. Okay, because I have made no secret of the fact that, to me, Oso's, the one thing standing between him and playing time this year is the defense. Can he consistently stand up to bigger players? We saw him have some ups and downs with Anthony Davis, for instance, in that first one. There's going to be guys who have a size advantage on him, have a strength advantage on him, and even a height advantage on him. That's fine. Anthony Davis is not the benchmark, right? Like you can't say, oh, well, he struggled against AD, so we're going to bench him. That's not fair. But okay, it's still a data point. But the other thing aside from that is his pick and roll defense, which is something that I've talked a lot about. I would say it's been uneasy during the preseason, but we got to get more specific than that, right? So the first thing off the bat is I am surprised that they continue to have him in a drop defense, even though I'm not positive that's what he's best at. Now, he has to get better at it. That's going to be this team's base defense from everything we've seen Mike Budenholzer do in all of his stops as a coach, as well as all of the personnel that the Suns have ahead of Oso between Nurkic and Plumlee. So they're not going to change their whole scheme to cater to a rookie, especially given that rookie needs to get better there. But I would think if at any point they do give Oso Ighodaro minutes in the regular season, it kind of would be in their best interest to explore some of that, whether that's switching him more, whether that is having him move his feet out onto the perimeter to blow up some pick and rolls rather than just dropping into the paint to contain them. You know, blitzing, hedging, up to touch, all those other coverages where the big man is kind of involving himself directly in that pick and roll action that the opposing team is running. I think Oso can do all of those things, and he probably would be more comfortable in it than he is in a drop. So that all out of the way, though, I think today was a decent game in that drop coverage. It's almost like he tends to almost be better in the drop when it's a little more shallow, or when he can basically play it like some of those other coverages that I talked about, where he can kind of have a hand on the big man, defend two in space, basically the big man and the ball handler, and not have to necessarily read or cover so much ground while he's in the process of that. Remember, his wingspan's not humongous. He's only 6'10". He's not a Dwight Howard out there or, a Rudy Gobert out there by any means. So it's when it's more contained, he can kind of do it better. But even within that, it's almost like if the defense doesn't try to attack him immediately off of those pick and rolls, I actually trust it fine. It's really that initial action when he has to rotate and take up space and, protect the rim while still taking away the pass to the big man and all that stuff that, it's every rookie. Derek Lively wasn't always amazing at it last year, and he's a lottery pick who was one of the better big man rookies we've ever seen. But when that initial action doesn't go after him and he can kind of recover, settle down again, and read the play, and then kind of just become a rim protector more in a stationary situation, I think he's been very, very solid. Almost kind of becoming like a weak side rim protector at that point. The ball's swinging, the offense is continuing to play, and then somebody gets a line of open space toward the basket. Oso is tended to be there, I believe he had a block against Jalen Duren in this game too, kind of around the basket off of a dump-off pass, or at least a good contest, maybe I'm remembering. And those plays are good, which, again, a lot of that adds up to why I'm a little curious if we see him play the 4 this year. It's not going to be perfect. I don't know what those lineups look like. Maybe it's just wishful thinking, and I'm over my skis even trying to concoct it, because you're not going to put him next to Nurkic unless Nurkic can suddenly shoot. It is a work in progress. I think Oso still is the third big on this team, even though a lot of us watching maybe feel like he's encroaching on Plumlee's minutes. But the development on the defensive end is promising regardless. That'll wrap us up. Hit follow or subscribe if you haven't already. Become an everydayer. Ben will be back with you guys next week. I will follow in his footsteps the following Monday when I am back from out of town. Enjoy, and I'll see you then.